Okay, gonna talk brown coating. You need a toothbrush, you need Dawn detergent, you need a cotton swab, and this next thing, you don't really need these pliers. I use them on buckles, but on these Spurs I'm just going to use a glove. You need a propane torch or some type of torch. These are the handiest. And I use Plum Brown finish. You can use regular brown, but I like the Plum Brown. And then I use a glove. And then you need some paper towels. You'll also need some distilled water, a bowl, and some baking soda. And that's to neutralize the acid. And this is a scratch pad. It's a pretty fine pad, and you'll be buffing the Spurs with it. First, I clean the Spurs with Dawn, and this takes all the grease, finger oils, and all that off of it. If you've polished your Spurs with compound, you have to use a degreaser like 409 or purple or orange degreaser, something like that, to get the compound out between the engravings, because it'll really mess up the browning. But I haven't done that with these Spurs, so I'm just donning them off. Dawn's kind of like a degreaser. You want to scrub each and every part of the Spur and make sure you get them nice and clean between the rowels and everything, because anywhere there's any type of grease or anything, it may not stick to those areas. And I try not to have my Spurs real highly polished for this procedure. I like them about a 400 grit, but the silver can be, shinier than that, of course. I usually polish the silver up by hand when I'm going to brown them. Then you want to rinse them off with some warm water. Rinse them real good and dry them off. Get all the soap off of them and things like that. And after you dry them off, we'll start heating them up, and we'll take the cotton or the swab. It's not a cotton swab, but the swab and the brown, and proceed. Now, here's a thing. You don't want to get them over 400 degrees, or your solder will come off if you use low temp solder. You want to stay around 300. The brown coat will sizzle when it's the right temperature, and that's I think that's around 300 degrees, maybe 325. And so you want to be real careful when you have 400 degree soldered on overlays. A lot of guys use hard solder, and they don't have to worry about that, but I use hard solder too, but not a lot on Spurs. Anyway, you can see it sizzling here, steaming. If it's doing that, it's taking effect. It's doing what it's supposed to do. And as you coat it with this, it's going to cool off, so you'll have to reheat. I usually try to do half the Spur, and then I'll go to the sink and clean it all up, and I'll do the other half. And then I repeat the process, this exact process, over till I get it the shade I want it, which is usually 3 times for me, but a lot of guys can. I have done them on buckles, especially 6 to 7 times. But these Spurs I'm doing about 3 times, I believe. Anyway, get this stuff all in the rowels. The shank takes longer to heat up, and so you got to heat it up more, but you got to be real careful, like I say, with your rivet cap and your shank overlay. I've only had an overlay come off once when I was brown coating, and I just got it too hot. But it's easy to do. You have to use the sizzling to know that you're at the right temperature, and it doesn't hurt to test it and it not sizzle. That just means you got to heat it up a little bit more. It's best to do that rather than get it too hot. Now I'm heating it up on the overlay side here, and I'm heating it up on the back. Half the Spur is got a 1 coat of brown on it. I'm doing the other half, And if it doesn't sizzle, it's not hot enough. You saw it there. It's not doing anything, so I've got to heat it up some more. These little propane torches I have found for brown coating are the handiest and the easiest. You can just click them on and off. You don't have to turn a knob or anything. Anyway, if you see an area that's still not turning brown, you just need to get that area hotter and get the brown coat on it. And I have had areas where it just will not brown coat, and I go back and I sand them a little bit, and then they'll take the brown coating. There could have been something on it at that point, silicone or grease or something that we didn't get off. But anyway, these are brown coating real good. And once we get all this done through the overlay area, we'll proceed on with another coat. All the same procedure. And I usually heat it up on the inside of the band like this, and then go to the outside just a little bit. You can see it sizzling there. That's the perfect temperature. And this Plum Brown, I usually order it, but I have found it in the Walmarts, around the gun cleaning stuff. It's usually in the gun area, but most of the time I have to order it. Anyway, just go over the whole thing real good. Make sure you coat everything. And then, like I say, you want to take it to the sink. You want to take your Dawn. You want to scrub it down real good with a toothbrush and the Dawn. And here shows you I've got it all coated. I'm putting the Dawn on it. I'm going to scrub it down real good under some cold water to start with to cool it off some, because it's kind of hot to handle. And you want to get all this brown, excess brown off. And one coat won't do enough. You definitely have to coat it more than once. Anyway, after you get this done, you dry it off, and then you take your scrub pad and you buff this silver, you buff the brass, you buff the spur of the brown on the spur, and this kind of evens out the coat. Some other places it'll take the brown off, but you're going to do another coat, and those areas will be darkened the second time. The scuff pad, I used to use steel wool, but when I put, steel wool, you lose a lot of the hairs from the steel wool, and I didn't like that. Some of it would get caught up in overlays and stuff, so I started using these fine scuff pads. I think this one's a green one that I'm using, and they're just kind of a nylon top scuff pad. And it'll shine the silver up real nice, and then you can finish it up by polishing it by hand, and it'll look real good. But when you scrub the brown with these things, it polishes that brown up too, and it also prepares it for the next coat of brown. So just scrub it all over real good, and then I usually rinse it one more time and dry it one more time before I start brown coating again, because there's residue on it from the scrubbing. Now here I'm proceeding to put a second coat on it, and heating it all up. And then after I get this done, I go back to the sink, I go back to the Dawn, scrubbing it. I use the scrub pad, and then I repeat this procedure again for a third time. And after the third time, if I think it's real good, then I proceed to right here, which is I use an eraser to polish my silver up. The brown coat will leave a brown residue on your silver and brass, so you got to scrub it pretty good with an eraser. The eraser is what I use because it's the easiest thing to not rub on the brown part. If you rub on the brown part naturally real hard, it could come off. But I use the eraser, and then I polish it by hand afterwards. This is a polishing cloth. I polished all my silver with it, and I'm also going to polish the brown with it. It doesn't hurt the brown, and it shines it up some. And at this point, they're kind of raw. You have to neutralize the brown coating. It's an acid. So what you do is you take you mix up a solution of baking soda and distilled water, and you put this in this solution. I usually use about a half a jug of distilled water in a stainless bowl, and then I put some baking soda in it, probably about a third of a cup, and I mix that up real good, and then we'll put the spur in here for just a few minutes, or 30 seconds even, and that will neutralize the brown coating as an acid. Brown coating is a form of rusting, and if you don't neutralize it, it could keep rusting on you. That's what I've been told, and that's what I've been taught. And this baking soda solution will neutralize that action. So we just put them in here, and if I had two, I'd put 2 spurs in here. I'm just doing one for the video. And then I take it out of here, I dry it off. I'll give it a final polish, and then I will take some WD-40, and I spray WD-40 all over this spur. I especially get it between the rowel slot, between the hinges, down in the hinges. I rub it all over the spur liberally. And what I do is I take a little wire hanger, a brass wire hanger, and I just hang it from my soldering rack, which you see there in the background, and I just hang it for overnight, and this oil will soak into the steel, and it just makes the brown coat look really nice. And tomorrow we take it off, we clean it all up real good, dry it real good, polish it up real nice, and then we take Renaissance wax and we wax it with Renaissance wax. And the Renaissance wax will protect this spur for a long time. Of course, the customer has to take care of them also. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Please like and subscribe to my channel. I'm trying to bring out more videos.